back, guys, to another episode of Season 2 on Films on LHD. Today, I'll let Luka introduce our very special guest to my left.
Yeah, so after Season 1, Daivad went missing for a little bit. It was sad for all of us, but luckily he came back just a few weeks ago, so now we're going to be resuming our show with him. He goes by Dennis now. So Dennis, do you want to introduce this film to us?
The film? Yep. So
Oh, and yourself as well.
and myself, yeah. So
we already know you pretty well.
Yeah.
Though.
So I'm Dennis. I'm the new man in town. Also starts with D, so it works.
So you're the old man just returning, right?
Yeah.
You're not the new man. You just changed your name.
Yeah.
But I've improved a bit, I'd say.
Ooh, that's
improving is making a judgment on how you were.
Yeah, but we're all about self-improvement here on this channel, so.
Amen. All right. Well, the book. Not the book of best. No, that's good.
Today,
the house that Jack built. This is my favorite film of all time.
Same here.
Wait, before we get into it, this might be one of the most controversial episodes we've ever done. I've heard, right? It might top Hannibal Holocaust.
Maybe.
I just wanna.
It might top Scary 61st.
I just wanna quote something that was said right before this. It says, "So what's the NSFW policy? What's the line I can't cross?" Harry said, "You can say anything." Dennis, or I'm gonna need you to say that. I need you to say you can say anything.
I need to hear the words coming out of your mouth directly. Say it on camera. Dennis, you can say anything that you want. I won't be responsible for you. And I will record you and post it.
I will say cancel culture has gone too far. So that's why I have to clarify that there's no line here. We're in a safe space.
Yeah, in a safe space.
Where I can say whatever the hell I want.
Describe Dan as a very safe
and
space.
you will be met with appropriate responses.
Yeah.
I'm not free from criticism.
Yeah, you're not free from criticism.
Yeah.
So The House of Jack built. This is my favorite film.
Who's it by?
It is directed by Lars Von Trier. Brilliant director. I've seen a few of his
Wonderful
films.
director.
House of Jack built was the first film I saw of Lars's. Set the bar very high. I learned this film from Luka, actually. Yep, God
So
Pose.
The House of Jack was the first Lars film you've ever seen.
First one
Which is interesting because I
That
would
is
have
very
thought that you wouldn't like it if it's the first one.
So how did other films match up? Because this is the first that you watched, going to see his other films.
Well, I think they were worse, but that's just because again, it's my favorite film. The other two main ones that I've seen, I saw Antichrist and I saw The Idiots, and I've seen a bit of Dogville. Antichrist was a brilliant film. I'll give that 4.5 out of 5.
We got to do it out of 10. I need more scope.
All right.
So that'd be 9.
Okay, I'll give it an 8.5.
That'd be 9 and 10.
I'll give it an 8.5.
Yeah, so it's not the same scope.
No.
You got.
I got you.
It's a good film, but The House that Jack built takes the cake. Anyone who knows me is pissed off with me because I talk about this film way too much. I even wrote a song about it. That's how much I love it.
So what do you love about it?
I'm glad you asked, Harry.
6-hour episode.
Quick recap for those who think they've seen it or haven't seen it. What's the film about?
I think they've seen it.
You think you've seen it?
If you think you've seen it,
Might need to see a doctor. The film fundamentally is a discussion between these two characters, Jack and Verge, who we later know to be called Virgil. Jack is a psychopathic serial killer. He's an atheist, he's a nihilist, he's a materialist. He doesn't really believe in a whole lot of anything. And Verge, I would argue, is the opposite of that. He's more optimistic, he's Christian.
Priest, no?
He's a priest.
No, he's Virgil.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't. But the first appearance he's meant to look like a priest, no?
I think.
Does he have a collar or not?
It's kind of like a confession style.
Yeah.
Confession style.
Yeah. So he's.
So Jack is telling Verge the stories, 5 random stories he selects of serial killings. They discuss
incidences. Yeah.
They call them 5 incidents. They discuss the relationship between art and love, how they link up, how Jack views the world sort of on a fundamental level, much like Verge. At the end of the film, we then realise that this dialogue is being taken place as Virgil is leading Jack through hell. to his appropriate circle, based on Dante's Inferno. So Virgil from Dante's Inferno. If you're not familiar with Dante's Inferno, that's an important part of the ending of the film.
I mean, in general, you should get acquainted with it because it is based so much of Western cultures, especially religions. Understanding of hell is based on Dante's descriptions of it.
Even the seven deadly sins. Yeah.
It is funny that he, with no theological basis before that, invented the most popular version of hell we have now.
I will say the first time I watched the film, I wasn't aware of Dante's Inferno conceptually, so I had to watch a video afterwards explaining it, and then I was like, oh shit, that makes a lot more sense.
So on that, without giving too much away of how I feel about this film, don't you find it really interesting that so for those of you who don't know, Dante's levels of hell, like 7 I think is for violence, so murders, and then but the bottom hell isn't because like it's interesting to see what you would think the bottom circle of hell is, and the bottom circle of hell for Dante was for betrayers. So Judas is there, and it was really interesting because he gives different types of betrayers. Because you can betray your family, your countrymen, you can betray your peers, you can betray your humanity, things like that, or you can betray. I think the ultimate betrayal is to betray your benefactor, which is Judas, and this is so interesting because you look at it and you're like, is betrayal the worst sin that you could do? And for Dante, you have to remember like why these things were written. Dante was still patronized by someone,
yep.
right? And so he would still have to like do the work and respect his patrons. And so a lot of that is the reason why hell's structured that way. But one thing that I find really interesting about House of Jack build is that they kind of stop at the 7th layer of hell.
Yeah. So.
And he gives him an option. Well, he doesn't give an option. He's just like, where does that go?
He tries to cheat his way out of hell.
And he tries to cheat his way out of hell, and then he gets and they say like, well, careful, because a lot of people have tried and they slip, and that's how the film ends.
So just to piggyback on that, something I found really interesting was so at the end of the film, jumping right to the end, when Verge takes Jack to the bottom circle of hell because Jack wants to see it, he wants to see it all. Verge then announces that that's actually not where he's supposed to deliver Jack, but a few circles up, in the violence section.
Yeah.
Which is interesting commentary because it basically suggests that sort of theologically there can be more evils than Jack.
Yeah.
Jack was a serial killer. He was horrific. He was unethical by every Western standard. However, he didn't really betray any set of values, and yeah. So yeah.
And and it also suggests that comment that maybe Jack was born this way, and so it's like. He's already the 7th. It's like, but he's not the worst that could be. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting thing. But I do really like that ending where you're like, this is where you belong. It's pretty bad, but you're not the worst. But there's something about Jack which you see throughout the film that is why he goes to the bottom. It's that curiosity. It's that arrogance that thinks that he's in control of his destiny, his life. That he's superior to any laws, anything, and that's what brings him to the bottom of the bottom.
Fundamentally, he has this sort of perverse superego where he refuses to accept accountability for any of his actions, and that is ultimately to his downfall. And that final scene where he falls into the pit, and then we play the hit song "Hit the Road, Jack," which is a great end credit song for this film.
I love that. Lars' end credit song, or like at the end of Manderley, a film about slaves, he plays "Young Americans" by David Bowie. They're like, just
Speaking of David Bowie, before I forget, the song "Fame" by David Bowie in House of Jack, brilliant choice for a song.
Brilliant choice.
I fell in love with that song watching that. The scene where he's carrying the corpse behind the truck, and "Fame" by David Bowie plays.
When he's dragging it.
Yeah. Powerful shit, man.
I did think that was such a brutal.
Such a good song.
That was such a good choice, though.
So Harry,
one question on that, because like. I think Virgil was Verge and Virgil is a very poignant name. Why Jack?
Why is his name Jack?
Yeah.
Well, the House of Jack is originally an old fairy tale, not a fairy tale, an old like wise tale called the House of Jack, and
like a nursery rhyme.
And back in the day, there were a lot of nursery rhymes based on a character called Jack.
I actually.
So you've got Jack and Jilly, you've got Jack and Giant Beans. You got all
So
the
he is-
He's
stories.
like the old everyman.
He's like the default
Yeah.
male character.
Mm.
And also something I noticed was at the very start of the film, they're using a jack, the apparatus called a jack. And I thought that was kind of interesting because
Interesting. Someone, I don't remember who that I saw the film with, said, I was disappointed that his gimmick wasn't using a jack for the whole movie. That shows you how much they missed the point. But
that's a very low resolution takeaway from that film.
Luka,
I was
sorry,
I was just gonna say, Harry, you said off camera that you weren't as a fan of this film as Lars' other films. Luka and I, vehemently disagree with that.
we think this is
We think that's a crime on par with what Jack did, quite frankly.
So that's
that's
ninth
a bit-
level.
Yeah, that's the ninth level.
I would
He's
say
7th,
that-
you're 9th.
Yeah, that's betraying Lars.
betraying
so
Lars.
That's ninth.
And he technically is my benefactor in terms of I watch his
Inspiration.
art.
But can you defend that claim?
I don't want to because we're on time here. I don't want to waste time. I did a big boo boo, and the first time I watched this film, I didn't complete it, and so a lot of those comments were based on watching an incomplete work. And I think for you to get House That Jack's Built, you have to watch it in entirety.
That last
If you
20
watch
minutes
it,
especially.
yeah, no, the last 20 minutes explains everything. Because without the last 20 minutes, I just felt it was just like, it was disjointed. It was just like, what is it? It's just, and I felt it was like such an excuse to just, do vignettes, if you will, of murders, of interesting murder scenarios, of things like that, interesting scenarios. And I was just like again, what's the point? What's the story? And it's not until you get to that the last 20 minutes that it all ties in together. And yeah, and then looking back at it, because like we talked before, I do like epics. I do Dante's Inferno is an epic. Dante's whole trilogy is an epic. And this, to me, when you put it in that context, is a serial killer epic.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it covers a lot of bases, and like we said before, it covers a lot of very, very poignant themes on subjects that are really awkward to talk about. I find it really interesting for him to talk about stuff like the icon. I thought that was such an interesting word to use, the icon.
The value of icons.
The value of icons, yeah. And again, it's an uncomfortable subject. 2, it's something that most people don't think about, But 3, it's still, there's still a lot there, and we should think about it. If we're inclined to, it is part of us.
And Lars is a master of the metaphor. So much of this film is metaphorical, and he uses so many different things, such as how they distill, grapes for dessert wines, and Japanese dive bombers. He talks about a lot of different material things, metaphorically, to represent.
So I think for me, like, having now watched the whole thing, I think the reason why I didn't get with it immediately is because with his other subjects, Lars is straight onto you from like the first 5 minutes. He's like, this is what we're going to talk about today, and like, let's explore. This one, he does it like the incidents.
Yep.
Right? You don't know who Verge is. You just think that he's just some weird guy confessing, and it's very abstract, and it starts off with a random incident and then another one. And the incidents themselves are very interesting. But until you watch the whole thing, you don't really fully understand what they're exploring. And when you look at it as a whole piece, I would say it's an epic. It's an epic, and it is a masterpiece. And,
I would argue that it's not even that you have to see the whole film. I think to fully appreciate it, you need to see Lars's previous films as well.
And not just, I will say as well that this is the kind of film that you it's weird. It's like you should act if you're interested in the discussion. It's a film that you can watch again and again.
Yeah.
Whereas there are some films where it's like they're like impact you once and you're kind of done. I get it.
I've seen it 12 times, and every time I found something new.
Yeah.
A new bit of symbolism, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
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 Brilliant, man.
And so and again, if you talk about, recently we saw The Whale, right? If you look at, which I think people forget, and Lars is a master, is this medium is film, what Lars does in this, you can't tell or explore or analyze any other way than in the medium of film. Like you said, his choice of music, the images that he shows you, the way that he shows them to you, then certain aesthetics, you can't do this in a play. You can't do this on a podcast. You can't do it. This is a film medium, and we're watching a master at work.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was going to ask both of you. Obviously, when you watch the film, or when an average person watches the film, the takeaway is that was really negative. That gave me a negative outlook on life. A few friends of mine saw it, and immediately after they were like, "I got to go for a walk. I got to go outside and touch some grass."
Mm.
But I view it very differently. I think that like fundamentally the film actually preaches a happy message, which is strange considering how like dark and grim it is. But I think like ultimately the message of the film is, Jack was a bad guy and he faced the consequences. There are consequences for your actions. He didn't get away with it. He got the ultimate punishment. And I think even though Jack is supposed to be a character we relate to in a way, I feel much more strongly towards Verge, who I think is definitely the good guy, or the symbol of hope and the sort of.
Well, I don't think we're meant to relate to him as in terms of a person, but I think what we relate to, and I'm going to pull a lot on things that Jordan Peterson say, is Verge. There are laws.
Yes, you do.
There are laws of the universe, and Lars and Jack still abide by laws, even though he's breaking human laws and and natural laws, being a killer and things like that. Even though he does very interesting examinations of what is it to be a human, what is it to be a predator, what is it to be a killer, what is our instincts, what is our nature, what does suppressing our natures do. So he does in that. For me, what I think is really interesting, so this is what Jordan Peterson says, is when you look at like psychopaths, why does the human race have psychopaths? Is there a reason for them? Is there any value to them? I think when there was discussions on it, like before, there's useful to have psychopaths in terms of like wartime, because you need those people to do the outrageous thing, the crazy thing. You need the ultra brave, because it's not even bravery. It's just you need those certain people in society. What about now when we don't have wars? Well, this kind of stuff can happen, but at an artistic level, they're showing us aspects of humanity that we don't normally look at because we're normally sheltered. And this is still an aspect of humanity and arguably our nature. So I think we can learn a lot from Jack, and he brings up really interesting points. It's not a homage to serial killers and go, guys, this is another way to live.
They're not recommending the lifestyle.
Exactly, and I would even say it's not even a deterrent to like, guys, don't be a psychopath because you're going to end up in hell. No, it's actually using an aspect of humanity to analyze a certain a chunk of human nature that most people don't want to look at.
Yeah, I was gonna add on to Daniel's previous point. To me, I agree that Jack loses, but to me that wasn't really the point that when he goes to hell. To me, the point he loses is when he sees his house. Because the hell is like a literal loss.
Mm.
But his main goal, right, is creating art and creating his perfect house. So seeing the house of bodies and, just as an encapsulation of all of the bad things he focused on in his whole life rather than the art he could have created. That's the real loss. Because that's also Lars's loss. That's Lars looking back at his previous works and seeing nothing but negativity.
I would argue that like Jack's very, very intense predication on materialism is his downfall, because throughout the entire film he's always talking about how material has a mind of its own, and he's obsessed with matter and construction. And one thing that Verge points out is that he reduces all human life down to matter, and by that virtue humans become meaningless. You know, we don't have souls anymore. We're just atoms, rearranged in a random way. And that's sort of like chaos theory, is I think what feeds his psychopathy in a big way. He just doesn't look at humans as like vessels that have any sort of value over, say, a brick. So I think it was interesting, you know, obviously, ultimately, the house he builds out of human corpses. Because he has no regard for a human corpse as anything different than any other material one could use to construct a
interesting.
house.
So I didn't see it like that. It's very similar, but I saw it as like, again, looking at like Lars's career, I feel like Lars is kind of suggesting, like, if you look at the subject matters that I deal with, I could easily build a beautiful, you know, house out of steel or wood or whatever. I could easily do that, but none of the subject matters interest me enough. So it's not the human body, it's that murder or whatever, what it represents. It's like, I did a movie with this kind of subject matter, and all my movies are such intense subject matters. That was the only thing that I was interested in. It's the only thing with like legit substance, because everything else is kind of mundane or done, or it's just not that interesting. But then when I look at all the things that I've done, it's like, it looks horrific because everything is so intense and negative and stuff like that, and I could have done all these other beautiful things, or at least like a side project or whatever. So it's like this is my work, this is my, you know, and I don't think he's necessarily making a negative comment or whatever. He's just looking at it and he's like, well, this is what I have ended up with.
So you think that Jack ends the film feeling content with what he's made?
I do agree that there's a sense of time's running out, and I you know, I can't even enjoy my house. I can't do anything else to it. I can't build anything else because the police are coming, consequences are coming, you know. So it feels like a man who's run out of time, and there's a loss to that.
Yeah. So I think that's the way I see it. It is Lars looking. I think he looks at it with a little bit more sadness, because I think it more comes across as he could have focused on other things, but his focus was always on shocking and being the most disturbing. So in the end, he just, you know, has this revolting house of corpses rather than a beautiful work of art that he wanted to make. And so it is a man running out of time. It's Lars.
And I would say, when you look at his skill set, he could like, there's nothing he can't do.
Yeah. So I think it's less him saying like, I focused on a different aesthetic and now I have this awful house, and it's more him saying, I could have made a good house, but my focus was in the wrong place.
And going back onto a discussion we had off the podcast.
Yep.
I would feel if Lars Von Trier at some point in his career decided to do a Dune or something, and it didn't feel that Lars Von Trier-y, and he just wanted to prove a point, I would respect that. For me, that wouldn't be selling out. That would just be getting something. And there's an example of an artist who did that. West Side Story.
Yep.
The music written for that is by a classic musician, and he was like, I'm gonna just show everyone that I can do it. Is a fucking masterpiece, and he was like, but I'm gonna get back to what I do. Right? So, you know, I would be so curious to see Lars do something that was more mainstream.
Yeah.
You know? But the thing is, at the same time, it's like
a waste of a film almost.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Because you get like, oh, it's a Lars Von Trier film. Like, what's it gonna be? It's the same how I feel with certain directors. I'm like, oh, Aronofsky. And in a strange way, even M. Night. Right? When I heard it's an M. Night film, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be another twist film. And the thing is, like, I'm like, 90% of the time, it's gonna be disappointing, but there's a chance, you know. So
as long as Lars made that hypothetical film prefacing that's what he was doing, because I would feel shortchanged if I didn't know that was the point. But if he made it clear that he was making it to make the point that he can make it.
Actually, Luka told me there was a director you said who released the film under a different name, so he could do that, right?
Lars released a film under a different name.
Oh, Lars did it.
Yeah, The Idiots.
Lars did do it.
Lars did do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Released The Idiots under a different name.
So, can I ask about, so, you know, the film's broken into 5 different incidents, all different recollections of Jack. I think he was a reliable narrator. I don't think he lied to
That's
Verge.
a really
Yeah.
interesting discussion.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
Because I had it written down to bring it up. It's been about a week since I've seen the film. That being said, I've seen it like a lot.
What made you bring that up? Is that from comments and discussions, or did you inherently think that?
Any film that's like any film that's sort of a biopic of one character
And
within
just
a rating,
that
yeah. Like for example, like American Psycho. That's like the biggest example I can think of like the unreliable narrator sort of.
You know, because it's so
trope.
interesting. Because it's like it doesn't cross my mind much. Like I don't know that many films with an unreliable narrator, and I just instinctively I trust whatever you tell me.
Yeah, which I don't think you should.
Yeah, I know, and that's a fault that I see in myself. But if Jack was like, this is what the woman said, and then I killed her, I was like, oh okay, you know.
Because from memory, I don't think Jack ever lied to Verge. I think he's like covering up for insecurities he has, and he's like defensive. But I don't think he's like given any like factual misinformation about what's happened.
So I mean, I don't like. Well, I half agree. I think.
But what did he lie about?
Because I think that it's more so an unreliable narrator in the sense that he specifically picked out 5 incidents and chose what parts of them to discuss for show and to create a story for Verge rather than as a factual retelling of his life.
And what's interesting too is like how many people he said he killed, like 60, 70 people, and there's only he only picks 5 incidents.
Yeah.
But we see all the bodies.
But we see about 10 or 15 in the film, right? About 10.
I mean, the actual house itself.
Yeah, no, but I mean like the actual murders that we
Right.
see.
Yeah.
So, I do think that he's unreliable in the sense that he
has an agenda.
He has an agenda, yes. He is kind of so deep in his like pretensions that he is twisting the narrative to kind of bring up a greater point to Verge.
He wants Verge and the audience to see it a different way.
Yeah, and he's trying to charm the audience with his like speeches about icons and about Noble Rod and about you know all of this as almost like a distraction from the actual things that he did as a justification. But then I do think like he picks that stuff. Like Verge calls him out on it. One of the things he calls him out on is, why did you pick only 5 women and why are they all extremely stupid in your retelling? So I
also
think
the police were really stupid and all the police.
So I think a lot of it is bias. Like he's like in the first incident, I don't think Uma Thurman like pretty much insulted him and said you can't kill me, and that prompted him to kill her.
So you think what we're seeing there didn't actually happen?
Yeah, I don't think that happened. I think he killed her. He might have like picked her up like as a hitchhiker. Well, not whatever, as a broken down car.
So again, I think that's what contributed to why I didn't like it in the first watching, because I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
Because again, you need to, and that's why it's so interesting rewatching. Because if you know that going into it, you look at you're watching the scenes from a totally different perspective. Because if you just watch it, then you're a straight up movie, and that's why I don't know many films that do this. Yeah. You just think that's such an unrealistic conversation.
So you're a fan now. You appreciate the movie now.
Yeah, because I didn't want to do the bit.
You don't want to get bullied by Amelia.
No, I was gonna do a bit where I didn't like it, but like no, it's just too interesting a film not to.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I don't want to ruin your illusion though. Canonically, it is confirmed that he is unreliable.
Yeah. Okay.
Lars, in an interview with Matt Dillon, he said that the first scene he didn't really get it. He was shooting the Uma Thurman scene.
Exactly.
And he was thinking like this is horseshit.
Exactly.
And then he said in an interview he talked to Lars, and Lars explained to him the unreliability of his narration, and then he said, "Okay, now I get it." So it is intended to be unreliable. Now I guess the only discussion is how unreliable it is.
I think the murders definitely happened.
No, I think all of the murders happened. I think he just embellishes the details to make himself look better than he.
Make himself look better, make himself look justified. I mean, you could even say stuff like the rain washing the blood away didn't happen.
Yeah.
because he twists that to make it look like
Like
God's
yeah,
on
the
his
story,
side.
There's a higher power
Yeah,
watching over
yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is him twisting the facts to make himself look better and to make a grander narrative appear where he actually failed to make one with his life.
Yeah.
He's trying to force the House of Corpses into this beautiful piece of art.
And I think, I mean, if you look at that as a commentary on your own work, that's a pretty big. It's a pretty big step to take, especially when you think of how Lars comes across in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? He like doesn't give a shit. He's like ultra, control freak. And then all of a sudden,
Hitler sometimes.
he's suggesting in his masterpiece film that even I am unreliable looking back at my own work, and perhaps I lie to myself and tell myself things that this is good, they're wrong, they can't criticize me. That is incredibly self-reflective.
It's a very self-reflective.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
There's a
thing to
reason
do.
it's his last film, and he set out to make his last film when he made it. I think this is the perfect last film. I don't think he can make a better final film than this.
And he's definitely done.
Well, he did a TV show after that.
Yeah.
And he said that's his last TV show. So he did last film, last TV show, and now he's done. Well, as far as he says.
Can I ask this is more of a surface level question? But what was your favorite incident for both of you? Out of the five we saw.
My favorite initially was Incident 4. Because I thought.
I wonder why.
Is the mum with the kids?
No, that's the simple. That was
So which one?
The cutting off of the.
Oh, the.
Yeah.
I thought first time watching it, that was by far the roughest scene to watch. Like the actual conversation between them.
I was gonna ask you guys as well. What do you think is the most hard to watch scene?
Well, okay, I have one that I always genuinely look away from, and that's the duck scene.
The duck scene, yeah.
That's by far I think.
It still astonishes me that you will watch war footage, but you won't watch the ducks.
I still don't know how he does that. How he did that. Unless he actually heard a duck.
I don't think he would have.
Oh, maybe if you tied it, you can.
Yeah.
You tie it and then put it in.
Post Cannibal Holocaust, you're not really allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think hands
the
down.
thing is dude, Lars is an unreliable narrator. He's like, oh, we tied the duck, and it's like, did you? There's only 2 people on set that day,
Yeah. And the kid looked away when
yeah,
you did
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
I think as far as hard to watch scenes, for me it is just hands down the war footage. Absolutely.
But
That was so hard to watch.
That would be such good press, right? If you were shooting that scene, and you said, no one show up to set today. It's just me and the kid. I'm filming it. It's just me, the kid, and the duck. And you came out with that footage, and you said, don't worry, I just tied his leg.
The kid's gonna.
And you're like, where's the duck? And you're like, where's the duck? He's free. Even if you did actually tie the leg, everyone's gonna say you fucking cut a duck's leg off or what. It would be such interesting.
They're gonna send someone down there to find the duck.
Yeah. But it'd be so interesting. But you have to be at that level to be able to give a shit.
So what was your hardest thing to watch? Just as far as how grotesque it was or uncomfortable? I'd say there are 3 main contenders. The kid getting shot is a big one, and
to me
I'm
the
fine
kid
with
didn't.
That didn't hit you at
fine.
all?
To me the
Because the thing is the kid getting shot for me was such an interesting look at it because of him explaining how hunters kill in order. So that for me was just interesting.
But that doesn't take away from the sort of fucked upness of the scene itself.
But I've seen more fucked up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Like Schindler's List, is way more intense.
So what about when that wires are cut up?
Because the thing is, this too is I'm very removed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially because they're incidences. It's such an interesting thing because unlike other horrors, right? It feels so much more real because you the way you're introduced to the victims or the way that it happens. This is done so much it's like psycho theory.
Yep.
That it just you're looking at it as case studies rather than that they're real people.
Yeah.
And it just exactly, and it's just so interesting. But I would say maybe the cutting off the.
That was the hardest one to watch. Yeah.
For me, the duck.
I wouldn't use those words, hardest to watch, but I would.
Yeah.
Most uncomfortable, most likely that you'd look away.
I just think it's. I mean, we've done some crazy. What was the Japanese one with the?
Itchy.
Itchy. Like,
you had a friend that walked out on that scene, right?
I did.
I've had a few friends that
walked out of that scene.
But I just thought that was crazy to put it in a wallet. And
To me, the hardest one by far the duck scene.
Mm.
Then after that, none of the gore really hit me.
Yeah.
Second hardest to watch scene is the conversation between Jack and Simba. It was just so depressing. It was so heavy.
You know, like, I'm gonna make a comment here that's gonna get me in trouble.
Oh no!
Let's go, guys.
Let's go.
Season 2, baby.
But like,
but like he
wait,
done it. Yes.
but the thing is, so
he was based the whole
so
time.
we just released our film Book of Vesna, right? And I know that a lot of people found it hard to watch Book of Vesna, right? And Book of Vesna is like Disney compared to House of Jack Build. And the thing is, for me, I get almost, like, I'm very understanding, and I'm not gonna force anyone to do anything, right? But I get almost, I don't want to say it. I get almost offended when people can't. I get the choice not to watch horror, but the thing is, for me, it's just such an aspect to life. It's such an aspect to humanity, and for me, when you like to be like, I know it's there, but I'm not going to watch it. I'm like, unfair, but to be like ignorant of it.
People who like deliberately put up the blinds.
Yeah, I'm just like, I get a reaction. This is like.
Yeah, my first.
What world are you living in? You know?
And I think contemplating that is important.
No, especially because with that comes a feeling of judgment that, like, why are you guys picking this subject matter? Yeah. Like, when you should be doing rom-coms, and you can be doing comedy and putting light into the world. It's like, and then people like Lars is like, what? Like, he's a psychopath and he's using film as a medium of living his fantasies. I'm like, no, like this is genuinely an aspect of humanity, and you would be. I mean, and the thing is, Jordan Peterson even says it with with stuff like the Hitler comment, right?
Yeah.
Of like, we should all, like, it's a very privileged frame of mind to be like, oh, I would never have joined the Nazi party.
And also, you can acknowledge that something exists without defending it. Yeah. You know,
yes.
like just because a film showcases, a rape or a murder or a child killing. In no way does that reflect the filmmaker, like, fetishizes those things or like likes those things in some way.
And you know what I will say, like Lars does say he tries to be shocking and stuff like that, but I wouldn't say anything he does is overtly, like, he justifies what he does. Yeah. I'd say there's way more egregious, more mainstream and egregious filmmakers who do things with no justification.
Who do you reckon would you name one?
I mean, Tarantino does it.
Yeah.
He does it for fun. He even says it. There's no point.
Yeah.
Anyway, when someone either doesn't want to watch something disturbing just because they're so sheltered and they don't want to be exposed to that, or they say, like, you shouldn't make something depressing, something disturbing, focus on happy things, that really wakes up the Lars in me. I really just want to, shoot the most disturbing, fucked up thing and just show them.
But that's why for me it has to be justified, and Lars, even though it's so uncomfortable, right, he justifies it, and that's why you do have to get to the end of the piece. You do have to look at it as a piece in a whole.
That's why
his other films. I will say that just to finish off the point is, like, if you look at Western culture storytelling, it's been there since the fucking beginning with Greek culture, and if you look at the Greek stories originally, they are made as plays as catharsis. Look at this, not to glorify it, but to purge something in ourselves, because this is part of what we are, right? And they were dark. They were like a father ends up having sex with his daughter because he doesn't realize it's his daughter, or like with his mother and he pokes his eyes out, and a mother kills all her kids. It's like, these are like brutal, It's just we didn't have the means to show it. Now the medium's changed.
I've got a question for both of you. I can assume what your answer is going to be based on this conversation, but a lot of people would say that a film like Lars's, might contribute to real life violence, right? So we saw that with like The Joker, for example, was a massive criticism. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that we don't see it that way. I don't, or at least I don't think the Lars should be held accountable if it did.
Okay, my take is more so that it doesn't matter if it does.
It's not
Even
Lars'
if it
fault.
contributes to real violence, one, it's not Lars' fault.
Mhm.
Two, that's the cost of freedom.
Yep.
We had this discussion yesterday.
Yep.
If you want freedom, you're gonna have to sacrifice a little bit of safety. And if freedom of expression leads to a slightly higher crime rate, I'm fine with that.
What do you reckon?
That's a trade-off I'm willing
So
to take.
I'm going to give a bit more of a philosophical answer, drawing from greater minds than me. I believe
Can I guess who?
I believe that people who would watch something like the Joker or Lars and then go commit violence are poorly educated, are weak people, and are sheltered people. Because the more you harden yourself, right, the more you question these things and recognize that there's elements like this in ourselves, in humanity. There's that phrase that I love: don't be a gardener in a war, be a warrior in a garden, right? And you be a warrior in a garden by understanding that you are a warrior and there's wars and there's an aspect to humanity. And the more that you acknowledge that, right, the less that it's going to affect you. You're acknowledging it and it doesn't affect you. It's exactly the same thing happened when we were in boxing gyms, right? And you saw the more that people trained, if you meet fellow martial artists, and the more deadly they become with their skills, the way more calm they are. The way they will never get in a fight.
Yeah,
the guys who get in fights
dragon,
are untrained and have no respect for it. This is like, it's like you're removing you're removing all the like danger to it by looking at it, right? You're going like, yeah, psychopaths exist, yeah, this aspect of humanity is, yeah, and I'm going to look at it, I'm going to discuss it, right? I'm not going to be like, oh my god, I'm so scared to see the Joker because it might influence me. Now you've just given it so much unnecessary power, which makes more of a comment on you than the film, doesn't it?
Yeah, and if you refuse to watch stuff like that, and again, put up the curtains, cover yourself in bubble wrap, you don't want to be exposed to that sort of stuff.
Then you become a danger.
Yeah, you become a danger.
You become a danger, not the film.
Yeah. And you probably make this issue worse.
Yeah.
As well, yeah.
I want to go off on a slight tangent, because tying to what you said before is of...
What I said?
Yeah. There are people who are incapable of conceiving the fact that showing something on film doesn't automatically mean you're glamorizing it or supporting it.
Happens all the time. Even in like debate.
One thing, because we already spoke about it before, because it's still banned, inexplicably, is irreversible.
Mm-hmm.
Who sees that film and thinks it glamorizes sexual assault?
Yeah.
The film is horrific.
They haven't.
The fuck?
People who say that haven't seen it.
Yeah.
People who say that just look at this. Just look at the text that is in, and it's like 5-minute rape scene or whatever it was. 10-minute rape scene.
8 minute no cuts.
Yeah, 8-minute no cut rape scene. They're like, oh my god, who would watch that?
I would. For the reasons we've outlined previously, by the way.
This is you trying to cross that line.
I'm fighting the line. So Harry, what was your favourite incident out of the 5 we saw?
I think the one where he kills the mom and the kids, I found it one of the most artistic and aesthetic and I like the way he set it up. I really liked his explanation of it. For me again, like looking back at it now and looking at it as like a case study, I found that really because there's so many things that you have to assume for you to like start getting into that conversation, and it's just like, okay, we're hunters. They're just human. You have to be quite far along the psycho. Like good, we agree. We're all psychopaths here. Now let's talk the best way of killing a family. It's I just find that. Yeah, I find that quite.
No comment.
I find that quite amusing. I find it quite amusing.
Thinking, all right, so the kids are just animals. They're just meat, and I've got a gun.
Yeah,
I do think it's cool though, because a lot of people will say, animals are just as morally valuable as well, I guess we are animals, but like non-human animals are just as morally valuable as humans. Usually when you say that, what you're saying is that you want to be vegetarian or vegan. You think that both should be killed. Jack agrees with the premise, like clearly that like animals are equal to humans.
Yeah.
But he takes it a different direction.
But it's funny because that incident is almost like a group of vampires were watching a case study and going, "Oh, did you notice like the humans? They always call 911. So if you want a side order of cops, just like hang around like till these like red and blue things." It was just so like it's just so removed from the questions you normally ask of, "Oh, is it right to kill kids or whatever?" It was just literally
no
like,
comment.
Yeah.
Is it right to kill kids past?
No, because I'm just like looking at it, and a lot of times I was looking at it from an acting point of view, you know, or aesthetics or whatever. And like the first incident really threw me with the narration thing, and I was just like, what is happening? And it's Uma Thurman, it's a big actress, and I'm just like, and it makes her look like a bad actress because it's just the line. So it threw me. Right, and now I appreciate it a lot more. The second one I found was quite amusing.
That dialogue
was very amusing.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
It was.
Man.
And the thing is like
the
dragging the body was just so like
icing on the cake.
Because you're like, oh, he's gonna get caught, and then it's like everything, all the timing, and then I just loved. There was something so it became dark comedy where it's like, I don't have time to put the body in the car. I'll just drag it. And then it's like there's a blood trail.
So much of the film is a dark comedy if you just take it more.
It is a funny film. It is a comedy.
The one that I found, like the bullet through the head of lots of guys. I've had that thought a lot. Right? No, because I remember. Because I remember in the Second World War. I remember the Second World War that came up a lot. I remember like hearing stories with like.
Were you one of the snipers?
With like Civil War in China and stuff like that. No, I just remember hearing like, you know, they'd double up because the bullet would kill two people to save one bullets. And I remember thinking how brutal that was.
So dystopian, that like concept.
Yeah, just how brutal that was. But the thing is, like, if you've got a slightly disturbed brain, you would start thinking things like, well, how many bodies could you get through?
Mythbusters did an episode on that.
But you know,
See,
exactly.
When Mythbusters do it, no one questions
exactly, no one questions it when Mythbusters do it. Right.
I think there's a small difference between when Jack did it and when the Mythbusters did it.
But anyway, so the thing is, like, all those incidences, like I saw Jack as an artist exploring like an interesting case study. The one for me that was kind of weird, out of place, was where he kind of got in a relationship with that woman. Because
he strangled her?
Yeah, because I felt it was such an interesting divergent to what he normally does.
Yeah. So we're seeing with a family, then we're seeing with a relationship. Yeah. Okay, this is a question more for Luka, but for both of you.
Okay.
In Jack's shoes, were any of the murders justified? Would you have acted how he acted?
Am I a normal human or am I a psychopath?
You were yourself. So you're hitchhiking and this lady is disannoying?
No, you would just drive off.
I would just leave her. I would just say, alright, get out. And leave.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Does the law still exist in this universe?
Yeah, but it's like the 80s or the 70s, right? So like...
it kind of exists.
So the law exists, wink. It's like... Yeah. There's like cameras out on that road, mate. Yeah. I personally think that none of the murders were justified. Because I'm generally morally opposed.
I mean, the only one that you could... I could genuinely make a reasonable case for is when, right at the end, his friend turns him in.
Oh yeah, that
right,
one was...
and so that's more self-defense, kind of self-preservation.
Yeah, that one was just.
And also, he needed that like red cloak for the final act. Like that was worth the kill
because he needed the drip.
I mean, it was literally aesthetic, wasn't that?
So I've been looking
a robe like that.
I've been looking for a red robe for a long time. I know
you don't even have one like that.
Well, you've got your like
It's
Ezra
not
Miller
complete
one.
like that.
No.
Like that's so.
Mine is silks.
Yeah.
So I've been looking for a red robe like that for a long time. I've gone to about 20 thrift shops because of that scene.
Luka, you asked me that, right? Luka asked me a question. He said, "What were my thoughts on characters from film and stuff inspiring real life?" And I was like, "What a fucking compliment to like the filmmaker, the actor, whatever. That should make you want to like." You know, because you have it in positives. Like Rocky, how many people have been inspired to go to the gym because of a Rocky movie or some shit, right? So like, you know, like if it makes you feel a bit more masculine or a bit more cool or a bit more edgy or whatever because you've got a leather jacket with a scorpion on the back. You know,
I'm not sure if the camera's on right now, but
for it.
look at me right now. This is my fit. There's about 12 characters that went into this.
See, this is you hiding your identity because of the outrageous shit you're about
My
to
name's
say.
Dennis, by the way.
Dennis Morrison.
So I've been looking for that red cloak for a long time. If I saw someone with the red cloak, would I kill them? Just take it off them? Would I? No comment. No comment.
The thing is, the viewers have heard, our listeners, our loyal listeners have heard enough of me and Luka to know that we've admitted to our psychopathy. They've listened to us a lot. To
Okay,
know
fine.
that-
I'll do it.
No. to learn enough where we're serious and when we're doing the bits. Like I think
This
you've
is
got
not a
to
bit.
earn. I think you've got to earn your.
Okay, it's a bit.
The viewers are just thinking, who are these insane people that they keep bringing on? Where did they find these people?
If you guys think that I'm being fucked up, it's a bit.
Yeah. Exactly. I think you've got to earn.
Yeah, it's like Schrodinger's.
It's a Schrodinger's bit right now.
Yeah,
But that's the thing. Is like I think they all know that it's a bit. There's not enough edge to you yet.
Yeah.
You need to earn
Schrodinger's
that.
bit.
You need to earn that.
Right.
I
Well,
think I
have-
think my
have
I
me
think,
back and I'll
I think
own
my I think my meltdowns over like Morbius and
That was
Scary
so funny.
Sisters, I think people
Oh.
know that like
That wasn't really.
yeah that wasn't a bit.
It was like watching
and
a
I think
tantrum.
Lucas as well. Lucas trolling. They know when he's trolling.
He wasn't trolling, by the way.
I wasn't trolling ever.
So when I said that the House of Jab was the best film I've seen,
Oh, I
I
just
was-
want to
I
say
was ignoring Morbius.
DM hasn't seen Morbius, so no comment.
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
You feel it. You
I can feel
Morbius.
it.
You don't have to see it.
I had a dream, and it was revealed to me in the dream that Morbius is the best episode.
Oh yeah. By the way, just something to bring up. This is completely unrelated. Just want to shed some news on the loyal podcast listeners. We are currently expecting a wonderful film called. Let me just look it up. I think it's called Bad Behavior. It is. It's called Bad Behavior. We got two of our favorite actresses in it. We've got Jennifer Connelly and Dasha Nikrasova.
Because that's not on topic. That's really fucked up that you bring that up. We're not talking about that right now.
You know it will probably be good. One, because it's got Jennifer Connelly, one of the most beautiful actresses in the history of the world.
Jeez.
And two, Dasha's not directing it.
No, she's
Exactly.
Counter argument. Anya
Exactly.
Taylor-Joy.
giving her wonderful acting talents to this film. And for all of the Scary 61st fans, you're gonna be seeing more of Dasha.
I think she's one of the most striking. I wouldn't say of all time.
I'll definitely watch
Anya
it.
But I think
Taylor-Joy?
she's- yeah. I think she's one of the most striking.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
trying-
I stand by my opinion.
I've
That
just
is
checked
my
my.
Jennifer
What was your
Connelly.
opinion?
That's my Jennifer Connelly.
When have you said that?
Oh, off the camera. Sorry, now officially on camera. I'm
On
saying
camera.
Anya Taylor-Joy is
Clip
my
that.
Jennifer Connelly.
Clip that. Send it to her.
Send it to her.
Shut up, play.
I'm scared of you doing a movie and she says yes to the part.
whoa,
I'm scared of how you would behave. I don't trust you.
What does that imply?
I don't trust.
What
I don't trust you to have power over a woman like that.
I think it's very clear what it implies. I don't think that's a fair question. I'm just looking at my notes to see.
She says yes to the script and then the script changes.
Yeah.
We had some more new scenes.
No. Please do
Just,
a movie. with
we're just
me.
kidding, guys.
She accepts the role and then she someone clips this for her. It's like, oh, we're already in set.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I've been looking at my notes. Anything I wanted to bring up. One thing I didn't bring up that I was gonna bring up. Jack obviously got away with stuff that you couldn't get away with now. I believe it was set in the 70s or the 80s.
70s.
70s?
It starts in 70s.
That would have been on
70s.
purpose. Yeah.
It's a 20-year
To
streak.
lower the technology.
I believe it's like early 70s to late.
Starts in
90s.
70s, ends at end of 80s.
Yeah, right. Okay.
No, it's over 12 years. 70s, 80s, yeah.
This was in the 70s. From what I've read, this was a time where serial killers really could roam free, because like the forensic technology and what the police had capabilities of was nowhere near up to what the serial killers were like. Now I think the police have sort of caught up in terms of their like investigative abilities with like DNA and stuff. But like in that time, it was very interesting to see how like seemingly easy it was for Jack to do these things. Obviously it's fictional, But I think Lars might have picked that decade on purpose because that decade specifically had a big problem with serial kills.
I'm gonna quote a mind much greater than myself.
If it's Jordan Peterson, I swear to God.
It's not Jordan Peterson.
It's Andrew
He
Tate.
said, yeah, it's Andrew Tate. He said, if you want to be a top G, no, it's not Andrew Tate. So he said, and this unnamed.
Are you gonna tell us who it is?
This unnamed person acted from 1978 to 1995.
Oh fuck.
Said that freedom is not dictated by law. It's dictated by the extent technology can pursue that law. So a person in the 1600s, even under a complete dictatorship, even under under a monarchy, even no matter how strict the laws were, they had greater freedoms than the people today because the people in power did not have the technology to pursue all of those laws and to get everyone who committed them. It doesn't matter how free the laws are. What matters is how catchable you are.
I'd say yes and no, because technology also enhances your ability to do stuff. So technology enhances your freedom.
ChatGPT.
Well, debatable because right now it would be near impossible to get away with most crimes you would easily get away with.
Sure, but now I can do virtual crimes.
Yeah.
Now I can violate you virtually.
We have VPNs and Tor browsers now. You can access the black market without going to a physical location.
And then the technology has to catch up. Because I would always say the crime and the freedom comes first. They're the pioneers, and then the laws and the technology has to catch up to them.
So I guess just crime has moved into a virtual space rather than a physical one because there are no physical.
Well, I wouldn't just say virtual. I just say it expands. It's constantly expanding.
You read laws like a devil reads the Bible.
That's a good one.
It's from the
movie. It's from the House of Jack.
It's from the House of Jack.
I had to get that one in. It was just I felt
Yeah, but I stand by it though. I don't think you could. I think all the virtual crimes are a surrogate crime for the real crimes that you could have been free to commit in the past.
Okay.
Surrogate.
Asking our guests, because I do want to look at this incident by incident. Why those incidences? What's he trying to say? What's he trying to explore?
I have an answer, but I'm gonna let you go first.
I can make it quick. I think that each incident had a different message. I think there are some fundamental overarching messages, like it's easy to get away with shit, which is what I said before. But I think each individual incident had its own sort of message embedded within it. So I don't know if you want to
just go one by one.
Unpack all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, let me think. Well, I think I don't know if we can say that Jack had sexist tendencies, but he definitely enjoyed bragging about.
I would say we can say.
Well, he was accused of it by Verge, but if he's truly just picking these at random, but it seems like the implication definitely is that
he's not.
Yeah, he. I don't think it's an erotic appeal he has from domination over women. I think he just views women as the weaker sex, and for that reason he said that they're easier to kill just physically, But it definitely seemed that the implication there was that he had some sexist beliefs, targeting women disproportionately. We saw him kill men and young children as well, but it was majority women. And then in the first 4 incidents, a female was the the main.
So I would say that would be the biggest comment. Well, I mean, you continue. I won't. We'll just let you go.
Well, there's that, and then there's getting away with shit. And then each incident I think is different. So for example, with the 3rd incident.
Well, let's start with one though.
Okay.
Oh, we'll all discuss one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one. So one was the shortest one. I think one just sort of set the tone for the film. I don't know if it was as important as the last 4.
So I think one establishes, watching it again, establishes the unreliable narrator and establishes that he's justified.
Yep.
Right? Because you were even joking with it, right?
Yeah.
That if you were in a car with someone like that, allegedly, that you would kill them, or you would be pushed to kill them, or it's the most appealing to us as the audience to be come on, like,
Yeah,
wouldn't
come on.
you have, like, come on, like,
Someone
within that
says you
far
wouldn't kill me,
stretch.
you kinda-
Yeah, exactly.
So
He's
you think
not.
that, like,
It doesn't
sets up-
because it doesn't open with like a I saw the devil kind of murder, right? He doesn't open and you're like, oh my god, that guy's a scary psychopath. It opens with a, oh come on, like, oh, is this the first incident because this is his first murder because he was pushed into it?
Yeah,
Like,
I
you don't
mean,
realize
he spent like 15 minutes just getting us to think, lady, shut up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that sets him up as someone who is clearly trying to convince you that what he's doing is right.
Yes.
I think the last four definitely had more meaning behind it than the first one.
Yeah.
I have a more overarching one. I don't have a...
Okay, well, what's your
play-by-play.
overarching?
So, I mean, I think each of the incidents is a stage in Lars's artistic life. I think incident 1 is the first time creating art purely by accident. Even maybe when he was a child, right? He just had kind of the curiosity, the urge, and he created art by accident. Incident 2 is
No,
him-
but one suggests that it doesn't come from him. It came from because.
Yeah, because of his curiosity combined and his urges combined with the world around him.
But
result in art.
you wouldn't. But that doesn't come through in that incident. Is what I'm saying.
Well,
Because
he
that
argues that
incident
Jack
it comes
leaped into
through
the
because
place.
you have to defend yourself. You have
Yeah.
to stand up for
Like
yourself.
he had to create
Because
art.
she's annoying him.
He had to create
What,
art
because
because the world
world-
was pushing him.
Okay.
Alright.
The most sublime
Incident 2.
cathedrals. Okay, I'm done.
Incident 2 is him getting more refined. It is him becoming obsessive with his art. It is him becoming a perfectionist and being unable to look past any of his flaws and see his work as
I think he was just doing a bit of trolling, honestly. I don't think that this
Uh,
whole movie isn't that deep. It's just something.
I think because for me, I think too was just how deserving some people are because they're over trustworthy or they're all like.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know.
I'm not saying that those are not individual messages. I'm giving my overarching one.
And by the way, that scene, by the way, the 8-minute dialogue, my
Well,
favorite part of the film.
That's a great scene.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 3 is him pushing the boundaries, him trying to experiment and trying to create something new, something that wasn't done before. It is Lars in his, that is his Dogville era.
Yeah.
Then incident 4 is him now kind of losing the passion for it, him hating his art and kind of being stuck in a corner. That is his depression trilogy. And then incident 5 is him kind of going fully into shock. Him not really having artistic integrity left and seeing himself as purely trying to push as many boundaries as he can in shock because
And they're
there's
coming
nothing
from-
he has to say anymore.
So what about the
And then-
catabasis at the end? Well, what about when he goes into hell?
I think if we're going film by film, I think first incident is probably like a short film he made as a kid. There's one like a bank robbery, I don't remember what it's called. Second one is I don't know, one of his early ones. If you go by that play by play, the last one, the epilogue, is The House of Jack built.
Yeah.
So that is him reflecting on everything in art form.
It's quite an interesting question to talk to a young filmmaker with your whole career ahead of you, right? It's such an interesting question to be like if you could plan it, what would it look like? If you could, because the thing is like you kind of inherently, especially if you're like Lars, you don't know.
Yeah.
Because you want to explore some stuff and you can't really plan the next one until you've done that step.
Yeah.
And then the response to that step. I mean, you look at someone like Chris Nolan, and I guess it's more balanced, but he is always pursuing the subjects that he's interested in, and that potentially might never end because he could always be interested in something new, another piece in history that he wants to, illuminate. But Lars is immediately, and it suggests in the house that Jack built, immediately he's like, I'm only interested in this, right? Because everything else doesn't interest me. And so you're immediately like putting like a serial killer, once you've committed the crime, you are now like on a clock, Are you gonna run out of interest with this subject that is so volatile? I don't know.
Yeah, you've locked yourself into one subject
locked
once
yourself,
once
yeah.
you've done it, and now if he loses interest, he's done. He doesn't
Yeah.
have anything else to fall back on, like no one.
And that's interesting because I imagine that would be the same for any filmmaker that becomes celebrated in one genre,
Yeah.
because that's your audience.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
how do you ever break out of that? What happens if you fall out of love with that one? Right? I know. I guess it's the same with any artist, like music artists.
Yeah.
If you're like a reggae artist, whatever, and then suddenly you want to do fucking hip hop.
Yeah.
That's what I respect about
MGK.
my. Did you say Andrew Tate?
No, I said MGK.
MGK.
MGK, yeah, that's what I respect about MGK. Alright, I want to talk about an artist that I know Daniel likes as well. It's my one of my two favorite artists, and that is Nick Cave.
Nick Cage.
Cave.
Okay. The Bad Seeds.
And the Bad Seeds, that's right, but he has some solo projects as well. He has been in the game for like 4 decades now. And he manages to every single album change his style completely. And he has his fans that still follow true, even though every album is in a slightly different genre and a
Deliberately.
slightly different style, deliberately. So it's to the point where each album has an aesthetic, right? You can
But-
attach an aesthetic to each
But
album.
that's a bit too, no? Because now he's committed to that.
Yeah, so now, like, if he doesn't have a next concept to pursue, he's done.
Or
right?
what if he wants to go back to something that he liked?
Yeah. It's a rough game to play.
So,
Locking yourself into a
so
bit.
I'm going to ask you a tough question. If you could envision your career, what would it look like? And I
See,
know
that's
it's
the thing.
already changed because you even said yesterday to us that you would consider doing something more mainstream, and that's something you would never have said a year ago.
Mm. I mean, I would still stay within the same genre, same not genre, same idea, same concept.
But I feel but that's also maybe because you haven't done it yet,
Yeah.
right? So what if you did 1, 2, 3 films
So that
and they were like awesome? Then would you keep wanting to do it? Because how do you top that?
I couldn't. That's the thing. I couldn't tell you. I would. I think my desire for what I want to make next changes with each film I make.
Exactly.
Right.
And then at the very end, you can make a big criticism film on yourself.
I would love to make like an
Yeah.
an ending film. You know.
Yeah, final
I would
film.
love
If
to do that.
if his first feature, if he opens his first feature, you should end
Yeah. Absolutely.
with you in the scene of the final.
Yeah.
You should be in the final shot.
I agree. That'd be cool. Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
And that can go on your Wikipedia page.
I'd be there for that. I'd be there for that.
I'll do it.
I would stand when I saw him because
I
you
mean-
know that's the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, I'll be incredibly rich, so I don't know if I'll be able to make the time. Just,
Yeah, I like the idea when Harry's like 90. He's coming in for
I'll
one
be like
final
30.
film.
I'd be
Okay,
like
sorry.
90.
I'd be like
the year's
Michael. I'd be like
2028.
Michael Caine for Chris Nolan.
So yeah, you would. Yeah, you're in the final film.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
To be like if I'm like super old already and just be like, Luka's like, oh, do one more scene for me. I'd be like, can I eat some pizza
Yeah.
and like have a cigar and
Yeah.
like can you get me like yeah I'll write a scene around that and I'm just there like,
How about do a subtle nod to this moment right here?
yeah.
This.
I was always wondering. Imagine how interesting it is to cast a version of yourself, like a younger version.
That
if
would be
you're doing a
interesting.
biopic,
That would be interesting.
that'd be so interesting.
So
Just-
interesting.
And you're like that would be a movie I'd watch. That'd be good.
Yeah. 'Cause
So-
you
so-
have to be self-reflective, but it also.
So
has
I
to be
wanna
unbiased.
compliment Luka. I didn't think that Matt Dillon was good when I first watched this.
Oh, yeah, okay. It's a good
But
save.
you didn't get
And
the
then
concept.
as I completed it, because I had the same instinct that you said, it's so interesting because for me that made so much sense because I didn't get it like that first the unreliable narrator. When you look back at it and you understand what he's doing, and the thing is, I think a lot of people had that when they watched Christian Bale in American Psycho.
Yep.
A lot of people like what a
Because
shit
all the
actor,
other
'cause
actors
they
on
didn't get
set
it.
thought he was a horrible actor,
exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, like he does such a great
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
What is the?
Such a great job.
I've noticed a weird similarity. What is the thing with comedy actors being perfectly suited to play like unreliable narrator serial killers? And the comparison I'm making is Matt Dillon in this, and the guy in Creep. He used to be in like rom-coms, and he's perfect in that role as well. And he has a similar energy to Matt Dillon.
Yeah.
What about the rom-com formula trains someone?
It's not rom-com. It's comedy. The thing is that I think a lot of people misunderstand comedy, and I think comedy is actually one of the hardest things to do. Right?
To quote the great Joker, comedy is subjective. Murray.
That's the spell of the week. Murray.
We decide what's funny or not.
Oh wait, does that make one of us Murray?
Who's Murray?
I think you.
I'd be.
I was talking to
But
you.
I'm a fan. But I'm a fan.
But I think I think if anyone was Murray, it would be him.
How about another joke? What do you get?
That would be like the most anticlimactic thing. You go to kill like a podcast host that has like 20 viewers.
Yeah.
Can we?
Like, I know what I'm gonna do in the middle of the show.
Can the
It's
final
4 people
podcast
watching.
like end in a murder? And we'll make it like real just to increase authenticity.
And we're announcing it too, so it's like what's gonna happen.
It's hype. Yeah,
Guys, we're actually not gonna do that.
We're not
We're
gonna
not
do
gonna
it
do
in
that?
2 months' time. April 21st.
Same day Joe Biden's gonna die. Actually, I can't
Let's
say
make
that.
it April 1st. April
We'll
1st.
kill someone on screen.
Are you allowed to say that? I don't even, are you allowed to say that?
You, dear viewer, we're gonna be killing you on screen on April 1st.
The urge I have to just call out politicians right now. But, like I know I can't. I know I can't. It's like that could be illegal next year.
Politician with the initials JA. You will be
Okay,
murdering
stop.
I genuinely. So going back to that point, when films get censored,
Yep.
like, it's a bad sign for society.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a horrible sign.
Right? I honestly feel that we should be strong and educated enough to make our own decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And if you ever have a piece of literature or a film and you give it so much power that you're like, people can't watch this, we're protecting you. I'm like, what is that saying about our government? What's that saying about ourselves?
I agree. The other day I had a look outside and the forecast said there'd be snowflakes. So.
Alright, again, go into a metaphor by the greatest mind of our past generations. He
Of all mankind.
from all of mankind. He said something similar, although in his time I guess film censorship wasn't as prevalent of an issue. Well, I suppose it was. But the metaphor he has is that with modern society we are so focused on protecting that we are willing to limit any freedoms. And the metaphor he uses is, it's not enough that every packet of cigarettes has a warning printed on it. We have to also ban all marketing. It's not enough that everyone knows they're bad for you. They're not going to be happy until it's completely outlawed because they're not confident that people can make choices for themselves.
The clowns
Same
are coming,
principle.
man. The clowns are coming.
The
And
same.
yeah.
Oh my god, Dennis
Finish
is becoming
it.
Daivat.
The clowns are coming, and my feet don't fit in clown shoes. Alright, that's all I've got to say, man. We're gonna burn this fucking circus down. I'm calling for a civil. Okay, I'm not. Guys, we're not gonna do a civil war tomorrow.
The clowns are coming. Honk, honk.
The clowns are coming and my feet don't fit in clown shoes.
I've got. I've got a great idea for all the viewers. Let's not do a civil war. Wink.
Guys, let's not have a violent uprising.
Can you get away with that?
We'll find out in a week.
No, like imagine if you were in a society. No, because they just
If I was Alex
ban
Jones,
the words.
yeah.
They'd ban the words.
Have you seen that? I love that clip. There's a segment someone did that says, "Today it's incredibly illegal to go on television and say, I want to kill the president. It's even more illegal to go and say, there's a clear line of fire from the building next to him, from this floor to his bedroom window. Incredibly illegal. It's incredibly illegal to say, this is the perfect weapon to do it."
When this podcast becomes famous, that's gonna get clipped out. What he just did.
Yeah. So kill the president, guys.
Yeah.
Dude, don't.
The moral of the story is.
I don't know. We don't have a legal team yet.
All right, guys.
I don't know the boundaries.
We don't have a legal team, but attack
He's
your
a
local
guest.
politicians.
It's different. He's a guest. It's different.
Shoot your
You're
local
a host.
politicians.
Don't.
Yeah. The moral of the story is don't let the clowns win, man.
No matter what.
Because the circus spreads.
What about the circus spreads? What about the circus spreads?
It's a fool's game and only a fool would play.
They're just gonna drop every like hero down on the past evening.
I actually have some quotes that I can read out for you guys. Some more clown related content.
The old clown.
I enjoy using clowns as a metaphor for
Don't,
the archetype that we all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. He's still the same Daivat. Even
What do you think? Because I found this quite strange. Why do you think he tried to reanimate some of the bodies? Is that him reliving past glory?
I think
Is that
it's
Lars
more
reliving?
him. Yeah.
Well, it's a trophy for him. It's like his way of like, yeah, keeping the glory for that and like remembering. Yeah.
See, my takeaway was more so that it is him trying to create art out of death and decomposition. He's trying to turn the disgusting into a work of art, but it is really his sadism that is at his core.
Yeah, because for me, I also, because I couldn't help thinking like, it's also the attachment that comes with the work, the criticism he got and stuff like that, and then the fact that maybe he celebrated that criticism, like, oh my God, Lars is such a hard director to work with. I'd never be an actress for him again, and then he like celebrates that. Yeah. You know.
I think it is him looking back on all the people that have said they would never work with him again. Like, he's the only man ever that did a sequel to a film and had to recast every single character. Is that not insane that not one person wanted to work with you again?
To be fair, none of my actors came back for the second. I've had to reshoot everything I've done. Yeah. I'm a bit lower on profile than Lars.
Dennis Morrison, his films are not quite as well known.
Well, I've said everything I want to say about the film. So unless anyone has any other final thoughts,
we'll just wrap it up. Guys, go see it. Watch it in its entirety because it is that kind of piece.
Yeah, and before that, watch all of Lars's films, all like 20 of them.
Yeah, in one sitting.
I don't think it's necessary.
You gotta
because also that's if you're a hardcore fan, if you're a Luka fan, for sure you'll be rewarded. But if you just want to know what we're talking about, if you just want a glimpse into, because I would agree this is Lars's masterpiece. Yeah. If you just want a glimpse into this kind of filmmaker, if you want to see, he is a genuine master at work, whether you agree with the subject matter or not, or whether it just genuinely appeals to you. If you have an inclination to watch people doing exceptional work, this is a good film to watch, and watch it in its entirety.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
That's phrased perfectly.
But before we leave, I have one final quote. We're at war, and things are getting heated. But guess what? Snowflakes melt when it's hot. And on that,
like, comment, subscribe. If you want our guest back sometime, please let us know. We'll have a vote. We'll have a poll.
Guys, if you want our
if he gets more than 2 votes, we'll have him back.
Guys,
I have 3 accounts.
If you want our guest back, send an unidentified parcel to your local politician as your vote.
Guys, so don't know if we get in trouble for that. Luke is no longer a host, so the podcast is not liable.
It's like your 4th time being liberal.
The feds break in as we're wrapping up.
Lucas gonna have a skin change. We've set the precedent. A recasting.
FBI, open up.
Just call up everyone you know whose name starts with L.
Lucas gone missing. He's come back as a woman.
Lucas undergone a sex change.
Lucy.
In the past episode.
I think it means she's a woman, personally.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Well,
Luka now goes by Isabel.
Not just Lucas still, I feel like.
Anyway guys, it's good to be back. Please support the podcast so we can continue to bring this stuff to you. Okay, peace.
Peace out.
War.